Hey, counselor. Good day.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, hang on. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I got you now. I got you now. Cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I can switch to you know, like earbuds or whatever.
No, no, no. We're good to go. I've just got to get fill up my water and grab a cup, and these guys should be joining shortly. Be right back.
Sure.
All right.
I can actually.
Okay. All right. I'm waiting on these cats. So you got everything printed out. You saw basically what's going on. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have all the content.
Cool.
So
Cool.
it should be just fine.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's just my own problems. There's so much I could go into, but I really developed a theme of like following something from beginning to end, like on racism. How I'm gonna start with, go back to like Tulsa, and then to like my family was part of Heights Community Congress versus Hilltop Realty, the landmark redlining case. And my friend's dad actually was a lawyer in Cleveland Heights that argued it, a white Republican. And and then I flash forward a couple years ago when we rented this house, and the landlord is been calling me a nigger. And I'm like, well, guys, you want to tell me it's gone? It's still right here. I mean, and I was the one that I had the highest income, I had the most credit, and these guys weren't slouches, but I was still above them, and he didn't want to rent to us. He met them before he met me. See? And then he met me, and he was in too deep, so he had to take me, with the other white guys, and but he was a complete bigot. And of course, when he said it, they came and told me right away, those guys are cool. They're like, dude, they never called you a nigger. Yeah, right.
I mean, racism is alive and well, unfortunately, and I think that that's why we need to stamp it out everywhere we see it, right?
Exactly. Okay, they're here. Chris Oliver. I see a figure. He's probably still booting up there. Hmm. So basically, I'm going to introduce the event real quickly, and then
There.
and then obviously Chris is going to say his bit too. And we still don't really have the exact inception of it, but we know it's generally this conversation started probably over my lawsuit. But it's funny, we try to look for the original post, but I don't know that it's that important, really. And given the way we're going to go on to this topic, I think it's going to work itself out. But that neither one of us has the exact post that started this whole discussion, which is kind of funny.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is kind of funny. They might
I-
have blocked both of us. Because I went through the activity log, like going and going and going.
Yeah.
And, there's some things that just won't connect. And it's like, so.
Right. Right.
But I see lots of the other ones that you shared, like, trying to build up to the debate here.
Exactly. Cool. Well, I mean, you're somewhere. You're sitting pretty, dog. I don't to say you're not tropical island, man.
That's the good part of Lake Charles, Louisiana, right there at the airport. We just can get out.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Right. Oh man. All right. So let's see here. Um, yeah, William is on the line with us too. We're still waiting for Jared. And yeah, I'm gonna just basically just say hello to everybody and loosely introduce the event, and then of course you'll join me in that, and we'll both acknowledge that we don't even have the original post, but we think it's important to have a dialogue. Um,
Yeah.
and
Well, maybe just for like grounding, because since we don't have the original post,
Mhm.
from my recollection, I believe it was someone else. It wasn't you or I that made the original post,
Oh
and
wow.
it was like, commenting with like a lot of outrage from the Charlie Kirk incident,
Okay. Okay.
and then at some point you and I started jaw jacking,
Uh-huh.
and then I called you racist.
Yeah.
And then I said, and in that same jaw jacking, I also said, "Oh, I'd love to debate you." And then
Right.
here we are, because I am one to run my mouth, and if I'm going to judge, you do too. And but we also do not back down. We will have the conflict, and so here we are, and this is good.
Yeah, like I say, like the knife, two knives, and then we
Yeah,
both,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The whole iron sharpen iron stuff, whatever.
iron,
Yeah,
iron, be iron, right?
yeah, yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I managed to get out for a
I
quick.
don't know if Jared. I'm gonna message Jared to let him know if he doesn't know already.
Yeah,
I
we got
mean,
five. He's got about 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, he
uh,
should be good. All right, let me set my phone up here so I can run that too. I've got to turn the Wi-Fi up there. Err. Okay, zoom that in. Oh, there he is.
all right.
All right. Jared has arrived.
There we go.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're hanging in there. Yeah. So I think William, you're muted, I think, which you don't have to be. Okay, now everybody's clear
Just
now.
a little Zoom etiquette there.
Oh, well, yeah. No worries. No worries.
Hi, Bill, is it, or William?
William, I do the whole thing.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go around the horn. Well, actually, I don't have to introduce myself because Jared already knows me, Chris knows me, and William knows me. So we'll go down the line. So we got William, Chris, and Jared. We'll just kind of say hi to each other, introduce, and then we'll start launching into it. I'll introduce the debate, and then we'll start from the beginning, with the first thing will be the resolution and the format. I think you'll go first, defining what racism is, and you'll have 5 minutes, and we'll go there. But we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah. Hey, I set up outside so I could smoke. Do you care if I smoke a cigarette?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Absolutely.
If I could find a way to digitally blow it into you, I would, but I can't.
Oh, they definitely make that.
Oh yeah, there is one.
I need to quit, man. I've been smoking too long now.
Yeah, I know, man. I still burn them every now and then. Then I vape, and I mean, I work out all the time, but it's just, you just kind of, what are you doing? Yeah. Yep. So folks will be entering, and I'll remind anybody entering to keep your phone not mute, but mute. And yeah, we'll definitely do that. Anybody who's messing around with that, I'll cut you. But folks we'll take our time now. It's just now 6 o'clock, so folks will be coming in, and there's no need for them to, no need for us to rush this. We'll just hang out for a minute and converse amongst ourselves. But yeah, so William, tell us a little bit about since they don't know you, tell them a little bit about what you do, and then Chris is next, and then Jared.
Good evening. My name is William Sultan. I'm a civil and constitutional rights lawyer. I'm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I handle lawsuits all over the country. I'm the board president of the ACLU affiliate here. I also serve as general counsel and legal redress chair of the local NAACP branch. Serve on a lot of boards and committees and things like that. But my day-to-day is showing up in court. And that's basically what I do.
All right. I'm a disabled veteran, and I used to work a lot of finance and banking. Got involved in activism and became a political party at one time. What was that?
I just changed my speaker to the Harman Kardon.
Oh, okay. And so I do not have a profession right now. I might get back into finance and do some notary stuff because I still have my license. I have been called like a jailhouse lawyer before because I talk a lot of smack. But
There's worse things.
yeah, is my mic okay?
Yeah, you're good. You're good, Pepper. And so, how did
Okay.
you come in? How did you come into cannabis? So,
How
tell
long
us,
is this supposed to be?
guys. If you're laying in, if you're coming in, please mute. It's probably
I
about
like it.
it's gotta be about 6.
But you don't.
You
So
should be able to mute them, Chris, because you're the
Yeah,
host.
you're right. Come on, man. Yeah, I gotta find the. There we go. Okay, they're mute now, but yeah, I've got it right there. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So, and how'd you come into cannabis, Chris?
All right, so this is a kind of a wild story. I'm in the army, and I attained a nickname called Stony Rock because I'm kind of look like I'm stoned all the time anyway when I don't have my glasses, and I kind of dabbled. When I was stationed over here at Fort Lewis in 1997, they were doing an initiative for medical marijuana, and I said, "Hey, I'll sign that." And they go, "You're a registered voter," and I said, "No." Well, you can register. I said, I actually went through the process and registered just so I could sign that petition and voted for it in 1998. Even though I kind of abstained from because I really didn't qualify in the beginning anyway, I was still an active soldier. When I got out of the army, I was I was already rated and I qualified, but I still abstained from getting a medical recommendation because they had these laws, about like how CPS might take your kids or whatever. So it's just like fear aversion and or risk aversion rather. And so 2008 ish is after Christine Gregoire made that amendment to the law or directive. I'm not sure exactly which was the process. I think it was amendment to the law that said that marijuana alone is not a reason for CPS to take their children. And that's actually when my second child was born, was that year. And then I said, "Oh, I'm gonna get it." And I went up to THCF up in Bellevue and got my recommendation, and then start deep diving into the plant. And that's where I learned a whole lot. Was like self education. But
Yeah.
then this group here in the Pacific Northwest, I gotta give its due. The brain trust, if you will, or the intelligence here of so much about that plant and the botany, and even go all the way down to spirituality. It goes deep. And so you can learn this plant in so many ways. And I think it is a true and good cause to actually legalize it in all forms, for industrial products to medicines to just recreational, whatever.
Sure.
But that's
Sure,
how
sure.
I kind of leaned into it, and that's where my belief still is.
Okay, wonderful. And then Jared, I know we crossed paths actually sometime before Chris and I did. Do you want to share with us your background here, how you come into it, and you're still muted.
Oh yeah, basically, well, a long time ago, Washington State was considering selling cannabis out of liquor stores, and when I found out about that, I put together some pamphlets and started going all over the place and distributing pamphlets to people to let them know that Washington State was just considering selling it out of liquor stores, and I basically created a list of every single uh, representative in Olympia and their phone number, and basically encourage people to call in and tell them to go ahead and legalize it that way. That really wasn't exactly a perfect way to do it, but it was better than nothing in my opinion at the time. And then we had collecting signatures came up after that. I did a lot of work collecting signatures sort of in the King County, Pierce County area. They noticed how much work I was doing. I actually have family in southeastern Washington. I went to school in Ellensburg. So even when I was just sort of like volunteering, just sort of collecting signatures on my own, I was also like traveling around while doing it. And I was even mailing blank petitions out to people. They found out at headquarters that I was doing that. They made me statewide volunteer coordinator. And I really started reaching out to everybody. There's a couple of different communication methods involved in communicating with all the volunteers and getting people blank petitions and making sure they get them turned back in, working with businesses, creating maps online that made it easy for people to find a nearby business where they could go sign a petition, and encouraging those business owners to get the filled sheet turned back in. And that was kind of big for a while. My version of the petition, we tried it a couple of times. It didn't exactly work. And then Allison Holcomb came out with 502, and she had paid signature gatherers, and the 502 method ended up going through. I was working closely with people who wanted to highlight the imperfections in that with the 5 nanograms per milliliter DUI, et cetera, to make sure people know.
A number of things, yeah, of course, yeah, a number of things. 502, yeah. Yeah, something for the end session when we end cap. We'll definitely get there. All right.
So after 502 passed, somewhere along the line, I started making T-shirts in a variety of ways. I started out cutting out stencils by hand with like a little razor blade, a little pair of scissors, making shirts at my house, and I ended up eventually bought like a robot, or basically a printer with a little razor tip that would cut stencils, and making a lot of shirts that way. I worked with screen printing companies to have shirts made. A lot of them say marijuana is safer than alcohol. Some of them say marijuana is safer than this. Some of them say marijuana is safer than that. I've made thousands of these shirts and mailed them to people around the world for free. A lot of times they'll take a picture of themselves wearing it and send it to me, and I upload it on various, social media sites. And that's basically my connection to cannabis.
Terrific. So you started your own social movement in a way. Like I remember in undergrad, I studied rhetoric and social movements. So you basically are creating a social movement on your own with those shirts.
I was trying to, and
Trying to.
I encourage people to imitate me, and if they give credit, that's great. I mean, giving me credit is not the most important thing. I really want the message to get around, and we can go deep on that. But we'll get back to the debate.
All right, wonderful. Well, we are ready to go. You both have your timers on yet? You know the format. We are ready to go. The time is 6:07. So the resolution is that uh, the moving party, Chris Oliver, has determined that I am racist and that my views and practices on cannabis in Washington are inspired by this racism with no empirical facts, and that I've left. All I care about is blacks with regard to getting left behind with 502. Chris, is that close enough?
Close enough. Well, yeah, but yeah, the first part, like in my accusation of what it started it, and then the other part was like of the cannabis culture of Washington State, and particularly the I-502 laws, and how and whether or not it's racist or not.
Okay, terrific. So then the format, I guess you will start off, sir. You have 5 minutes. Starting to just the first segment is what is racism?
All right,
And
so
we're gonna do the five. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was about to start. I'll just wait for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh, William, you track his time, and then when I go, Jared, you'll track my time. So you are going 3, 2, 1 now.
All right. So, my definition of racism, which I'll just lay out first, is just my opinion, and I'll substantiate it with a known, well-known like dictionary of source, if you will. My definition of racism, without any adverbs or adjectives added to it, is just the word racism itself, is the act or behavior toward another person out of disdain of their race. And also, it can include like a superiority factor, because if you're looking at a disdainment of another person's race, whatever that race may be, it is kind of a superiority factor in the disdainment itself. Now, what I'm going to substantiate with what I'm using is just Merriam-Webster, and the belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce inherent superiority of a particular race. And then it goes, that's like the first one, right? And it has, it's a definition. So it has like 2A, it includes like systemic oppression and racial group and social and economical and political advantages of another. And then it goes on down to like, political and social systems founded on racism, and then the continuance of the execution in its principles, meaning like it can be of what the founding of a principle was, but now it's still carried out, but without the connotation directly of race. It's kind of like an inherent or subconsciousness in it. But I do what I do subscribe to is mostly the primary, the number one definition of it. I do not deny that these other ones do exist because they have structural coherency and relevance of how it's described with like adjectives and adverbs to it to give that distinction. And it goes on and on with this another one where it's like the meanings of racism and usage in a guide. It's like racism and racist appear to be words recent origin with no citations, blah 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 blah. It's actually a word that was more advented in the 20th century, because it, not that races did not exist. We know that we can look through history, but like that word itself being used as racism was a word that was in the 19th or 20th century. And anyway, it seems that it has described by a word much less significance it may have for individuals when discussing concepts like racism. Therefore, it is prudent to recognize that quoting from a dictionary is unlikely to either, I may butcher this word, mollify or persuade the person with whom one is arguing. So, like, what they're basically saying is that it's such a taboo or triggering word, and that everybody has a like. Not everybody. That's me with a catch-all right there. But lots of people have a different connotations of it. So when it gets used in different ways based on what a popular phrase today is, my truth, if you will. That's what I would say and anchor what racism is on.
Okay, very well, very well. Jared, let me know when my time is starting.
Okay, we'll reset and go.
Okay. Yes, I want to dovetail a bit with what Chris was saying is that, yeah, racism does inherently involve a contempt of someone else's based on their race. And colorism is part of this too, but for the sake of argument right now, we're going to really kind of, for lack of a better term, dummy it down. But, we'll go the Three Dog Night route, which is ink is black, page is white, and we'll go with those two primary things today. But yes, there is inherently, there's going to be a contempt for someone else based on their race or ethnicity, something of that nature. Okay. Well, given that though, I'm going to diverge a bit from my colleague's opinion on the core definition, because whereas he's saying that a secondary interpretation of it is to include the classism or the ultimate power, I contend that the primary definition of racism has to incorporate a nod to the power element, the systems of oppression that we have in this country over 400 years. Uh, you know, by in and of itself, contempt of someone else's race, you don't inherently have, the practitioner of racism doesn't inherently have the power over this class of people to do anything. So it's kind of like, as lawyers like to say, the phrase is negligence in the air, where something was negligent, but and a bad thing happened, but there was really no causal. They weren't tied together. There was really no teeth in it, so to speak. And the thing is, I could sit here, which I don't, but I could have grave disdain for my neighbors down the street, for example, which I don't. But say I did that, you know, it's hard for me, it would be hard for me to even employ any racism because I don't own anything out here. Like, it's if you, I guess you got to take it back to systems of oppression, which I think Chris did mention. Black people in this country never had the authority or the power or the wherewithal to subvert any white agenda. Never happened, never will, honestly. So therefore, we can't be racist. And I used to say with a small r or capital R, for the sake of argument, I'll leave it that way for now. But unless you historically have the power to oppress a group of people, you cannot be a racist with a large R. What you could be a jerk, and that's not cool. The hate that hate brought, I don't recommend that. But in this country, I really don't think it's hard to say I can't speak for every black person, of course not. But I really think as I think it was Anna Baldwin might have said, the black man doesn't wish the white man any ill will. We just want him to get up out of our way. And that's going to come forward in some of the discussion coming down here where we get to talking about Tulsa and talk about what happened at the Liquor and Cannabis Board. But yeah, Chris and I basically agree on what racism is, except that I'm going to go with the top tier notion being that you have to be able to have historically had a position of power and influence over those people. Now, if the white person wants to come to um, a small company, sure, there are small companies out here that could keep them from doing something, I guess. But for every one of those, there's a million other white companies they could go to. We don't own the means of production in this country. We're not corporate heads, and we're going to get to stats about, corporate the rates of employment in the corporate sector and upper management. We don't have that. So with that caveat, I think we're ready to move to the next question.
Very good.
What is the next phase? It's going to be, I think, Chris, you're next, and you're going to be discussing. Yeah, I'm going to ask you the question. No. You ask me first, then I go first. That's right. So, I think we're a bit out of order, Chris, but I think we'll swap it back. Your question to me, Jared, you have Chris's question to me, right? The known question.
I believe so.
Okay, do you want to read it off for us?
So, what does double standard mean?
Okay, very well. And I have 8 minutes here, and with a 4 minute interrupt if necessary or desired. I have a couple of examples of a double standard, and I'm going to keep everything kind of tied to the cannabis front, if I may. And what I want to do here is, there we go. I don't know what. Okay, okay. I don't want the chat. All right, so there. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so the first one example I have is a double standard. Let's talk about, you guys may be familiar with the Ogden memo and the Cole memos. These are memos from the federal government regarding the interference of the feds with state operations in cannabis. The Ogden memo was first, and this was back when you just had medicals like we had here in Washington, way before I-502. And the feds were supposed to stay out of here, but that's not what happened. They came in, and as we know, they came in roughshod over whites and blacks. However, the double standard that I see when this happened was, I know a gentleman named Breon Corbray. He was in North Seattle. He was partners with two white guys, and they had these shops, and they were making money, man. Okay, they were doing well. And Breon was the one who dreamed up the concept, but they were equal partners, okay? And as you could imagine, especially at that time, or even at this time, uh, there might have been some guns in the establishment, which everybody kind of had. You know what I'm saying, right?
Mhm.
So when the feds came in, at the behest of Jenny Durkin, by the way, a dirty Democrat, but when the feds came in and they raided his place, and they come in with a hand on the hip and all that stuff, and you guys got to move along, and we're gonna bust you for not paying taxes, and all these things they did. There was 3 guns there, and they put them all out on the table, and the owners identified them. Each man owned 1 gun. At the end of the day, whose gun got confiscated? Who got cited for illegal possession? Not the white guys. So that's the
Ah.
double standard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, double
Well,
standard
I
on
mean,
that one.
that's a good example of a
No, I'm
double
still
standard.
talking.
But
I'm still talking. Still talking. We're not at 4 minutes yet, are we? Yeah. Look
all
at
right.
those rules. All right.
Yep.
So next, what's the other? Oh, another double standard is that the hardcore MAGA types would like to say, "Oh, Dems are racist." I'm not going to argue with them on that, okay? But the problem is that if I turn around and I say Dems are racist, all of a sudden I'm playing the race card. So they've got me whipsawed here. They're using this as a sword and a shield. And I kind of don't think that that's permissible. That's a double standard, because a double standard would be when people should be similarly situated within the law and treated fairly and be given the same opportunities, but you're not, or there's a negative connotation to one saying the same exact thing that the other one said. And so
Yes.
that's where I'm seeing those types of things. Okay, I'm close enough to 4 minutes. Let's open it up.
Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt. I
Yeah,
was
don't
trying to
worry.
be
I've done this all my life. I'm a trained practitioner, so don't worry about it. You're good.
I thought this said 8 minutes. Maybe not.
Oh,
Well,
no,
I
it's
think
gonna
you
fill
hit the
10
nail on the head.
You're sitting at 319. You're fine.
Oh, really? Yeah, if I get the floor, we can start. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I'm done making my point, my primary point. So if Chris
Oh.
wants to chime in now, I'm good.
Yeah, I was just like, I mean, what you just laid out right there at the end, I 100% agree. It's like the law is laid out, and if there's some kind of unevenness in the scale that's applied, there is a double standard there, and it might be because of race, or it's my cousin, or it's my donor, or this guy pays a lot of taxes in the county, therefore, stuff like that. The preacher's daughter, whatever that privilege may be. And a lot of that has to be like really rooted. Like that's what I mean by like the grounding earlier. Like whenever and you're perfectly right on the head again with the MAGA and Democrats. Like whenever they do a swath blame and name, and then they also go around saying like, "Hey, let's be diverse and let's know everybody." It's the same as when the MAGA be like making those swath claims and everything, and then all of a sudden like, oh, you playing the race card just on random people when they don't even know their actual story. And so I totally agree with your analogies that those are examples of double standard. and whatever their standards are within themselves, they're laying out one for another, but not for themselves. And it's a double standard.
Yeah, and where it comes in is that again, because of in this country we've got this inexorable connection between race and class in this country that is never going to go away, and so it's naturally nepotism is being played out, which, as you just stated, there is, it's got to keep perpetuating itself, and that double standard just folds and folds over into itself, and then they'll grab a couple of black ones. Now, don't get me wrong, they'll grab a couple of black folks in there, a couple of raisins in the porridge, that they'll bring along with them, but and then to the exclusion of all others. So now you have dual tracks of nepotism, if you will. And usually with the LCB, which we'll get into later, usually these people have dirt on them because they can kind of bribe themselves, and then create more and more inequality and more dual standards throughout the whole industry. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I just, I have my opinions of certain entities in the I-502, but I should not say them because I don't have proof, But like you definitely see there's people who have certain connections that others do not.
Yeah, this is true, but that's all fair game in the last section, the free for all. That's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe I'm done with my response. So then I think now, William, you're going to read my question to Chris. You're mute still.
All
Okay,
right, just wanted to get my timer all set up. All right. What do my LLC membership at Doc's Tap House and my Tea Party guest speaker engagement mean to you in terms of your stated resolution that I was practicing racism at any point in time?
That's well, not to be trivial, but to be honest, it actually meant nothing to me because whenever I said that you're a racist, I was using like in the swath scale that how you throw out white this and white that on social media when sometimes it's really not called for at all. I mean, actually, often I would say, but particularly in that day, whenever this cause of our debate. So what I was doing was trying to do like a mirror effect. I wanted to, like we talked about earlier, like iron sharpens iron. So I wanted to say, hey, you racist. Try to get you, hey, what? Think a minute. Because like whenever we use broad terms, like sometimes we can be real funny, right? Like I was just at a wrestling event, and if you know about anything about like wrestling, fans talk a lot of smack, it's part of the game. And so the ref's counting, right? And I'm like, oh, ref, count too slow. Then my next little comment, I'm like, stop counting in Roman numeral. We need an Asian. They're good with numbers. Everybody fucking laughing because it's about the context in the arena. And so when I said it back to you, it's really about the context in the arena and like how you're throwing out your scales. And that's what I used for my reasoning when I called you that.
I see. Yeah, you're busting chops a bit. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's point taken on that. Now, within that though, it's very hard to say. Let me just gather my thoughts for a second. How can I say this? The old phrase goes, and just I don't know what you guys know about this, but like a substantial part of my family is white, and it's not like and then I think they'd be highly shocked to find out that I was racist. I mean, I've been hiding this from them all along, the secret racist here. But I think the issue is well, there's two issues. One is when is it out there, but does it need to be said, versus when does it really need to be said? And I hear you on this. You're talking more of a tactical, as I understand it, more of a tactical approach. What's the best tactic to getting this out there? Whereas I'm saying, look, I'm not going to stop saying it. I'm going to call a spade every time I see it. And sometimes I guess that could have a deleterious effect. It's possible because people say, "Oh, he's crying wolf," and that's a quandary. Would it be better sometimes just to sit, just to put the facts there and not say this person is white? Maybe, but then you have people who are in denial. And I'm trying to say, no, if I need to beat this person over the head with it, it wasn't just the fact that this happened. It's that it happened primarily or in part because this person was white or because they took a racist action. Like for example, and how does it? Oh, that's for later. I want to get out of that one. But how could I say? Oh, I'll keep it with the LCB. How is it possible that we got eliminated after 502? And this is kind of part of our bone of contention. After 502, we were all but eliminated. And so now what happens is, people look up and they say, well, with this, any type of, I won't say affirmative action, they call it, outreach now, uh, or some of the, what's the magic term they're throwing out now? The equity partners, okay?
Mhm.
Well, a lot of times online, I'll look over and, I fought hard for other people, not just the blacks. So, we talked about with this issue, I had helped Doc's Tap House, who's strict MAGA Central. I had worked with Levi Lyon, who's a white guy that they were screwing over and confiscated his mobile homes. I had worked with John Novak, who's a white guy, and we started Weed Raps was a show that we started before, and then once we got blacks involved, we went to do one of these round robins. See, I know that they've told everybody stay away from this thing because there's nobody's hitting in here, right? But at that time, I was up and coming, and I remember we opened up this panel, and there were like a couple hundred people in this thing, and it was a bunch of white people hopped in there. Once I started getting black people involved with Weed Raps, they crashed our show, and I had to reschedule it. And I'm like, wow. Wow. See,
Like
that's
the
the type
actual people participating, huh?
of the people where
The one, yeah,
they were the infiltrators.
yeah.
And so they signed up, and I'm assuming and I was worried it might happen this time, but it hasn't. But yeah, when I signed up and the people came in and they bombarded us. There were a number of people that came in and they just overran the whole thing. It was unbelievable. You would see like hundreds and hundreds of people and emojis and all this stuff. Like you can't even believe it that someone would actually take the time to do that. And that's just I'm getting a little bit off topic. I've kind of wandered a bit in terms of my dedication to working for other people because it's there. And I think, I was upset with you because I think you kind of looked aside. I didn't realize kind of your motive in doing that. But I felt like, look, anybody who's been following me knows I've been involved in these battles and that they
I
certainly
know about
didn't.
Aaron Barfield particularly. Yeah, you helped
Well,
him with Black
Barfield-
excellence and that. Yeah.
Yeah, but Eric's black though, so it doesn't count. He's a control group. So I was referring to the people that I was helping and researching and helping them find facts, who were not and make videos, about the oppression who were not in the control group. And so I was stunned to hear that. But yeah, I feel that I have reached out to these groups, to conservative politicians. Michelle Darnell is another one. I've come across this gap to them because I agree with some of their viewpoints, even though they may be MAGA. A dirty politician is a dirty politician. And I felt like with Doc's Tap House, Jay Inslee usurped authority to enforce the masking mandate. He did not have authority. And I don't care what your feeling is on COVID or what your feeling is on racism. I don't care about any of that right now. Or mask. I don't care. The bottom line was if you looked at the statute and look at the powers that were conveyed to him, he didn't have the authority to take that power and order mandate. It has to come from the county health boards of health, and from that's how that had to have been implemented, and it wasn't. So that's why I got on the LLC at Doc's Tap House. They ran us over in the administrative process, and then eventually I helped them find a lawyer to go forward after that in the courts because I've never been licensed here. So anyway, so that's what happened, and they never got shut down. I know I had a guy come in here earlier. I find this interesting. Some of these MAGA people, he came in and trashed Doc's Tap House in an effort to put me down. And saying that this all happened to them, and he was just trash talking, talked about their food, talked about this and that and the other, and I'm saying, wait a minute, you'll eat your own, won't you? Okay, you'll eat your own. And so that's an issue. You'll even attack them just to try to put me down, even though I'm trying to help these white people who are conservative. All
You're
right.
at time, Chris.
Thank you. Well,
What was that?
So now we've
The
got
cases.
section 3, which is 10 minutes each with interruptions and counterpoints at the 5-minute mark.
yeah. So I guess Chris, if you want to just go into a little bit about maybe if you could think about some of the things that you've seen, any of those concrete examples that made you say what you said.
Sure. But also like, wasn't there a hidden question part, or is that later on?
Oh, the hidden is coming after this one.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure. Yeah, I had it backwards in my
Yeah,
head. So like
I I
what
missed it when I retapped it. Yeah.
a lot of the reasoning that a lot of the things you see me say on Facebook, and if you saw me on X, you'd see the same because I have a different handle and whatnot. But I want people to use more logical syntax in their arguments because the factionism that's going on in America is never going to help us against the classism. And the classism is a big part. Where people still think we live in the United States of America. We live in the plutocracy of America. That's what the real reality is, the de facto ness. And whenever people go around, they cry baby, just name that name. Let's call it like fascism. Well, okay, what's the tenets of fascism? Let me know. What are economic tenets? And 99% of people don't know anything. I'm like, why aren't you protesting Puget Sound Energy? Like that's a fascistic organization right there. Why do you never actually question what a public private partnership is? Like, why is it that me and Chris King cannot go into business and create a subscriber garbage pickup service anywhere in America? But Waste Connections can. Oh, and they can still use the name like LeMay or Murray or whatever for locality, but they granted a non-compete consumer footprint to deliver what's deemed a public utility by a government agency, and they tax it on top of that. Is more fascistic. Come on. What did MLK was organizing again? Oh, thank you. So let me tell you something about like syntax and argument and marketing. What is all that? It's about influence, it's about pop, it's about like trying to make somebody, hey, wait a second. So I called you racist, right? So like what I'm saying is that's where my attack is. That's when you see me argue. And who do I argue with? I argue mostly with people that I kind of tend to agree with more likely than not. And it happens to be Democrats in a broad sense grouping, but definitely a lot of them are just dumb. They don't have the understanding of what influence is. You are influencing crazy people, just as the far right they influence crazy people. And it's like the ebb and the flow. Like, why would America vote Nixon with such a landslide? Because ebb and flow, because people want that they're sheep and they will get wrangled because a lot of people avoid what critical thinking and logical thinking, and they'll reach for logical fallacies like, well, the expert said this, 29 spooks told me this, so it gotta be true. And it's like these people are not thinking, man. So I'm being that antagonization within whatever sphere of anybody going to be close enough to feel my presence, post or whatever. Whenever I see that maybe I can be of use.
Okay, so, yeah, so I that's a great overall kind of overlay. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down there, but were there any specific things if you could think of right now, any particular causes
Right.
I was making or
Oh, what? Okay, I'll make one of a broad phrase that's out there. Maybe not
yeah.
particularly you saying it. Okay, maybe you have said it, but I just don't know. So
Mhm.
these white Christian nationalists. So like they put these broad words together and how people use them, right? First of
Mhm.
all, most people don't know what nationalism means. They think it's just World War II stuff. But like, dude, why did Stalin kill Trotsky? Because he was a national communist, not a globalist communist. Oh, okay. So you can be a nationalist and have different economic theory. I'll imagine that. Okay. So also like Christian. Okay, well, what's a Christianity? Like it could be just for like crusades, right? It also could be just like, hey, maybe Christians are receiving a little bit more bigotry right now than what they used to. So there's people who are like getting an anti-bigotry stance on Christianity. And some people could just say like, yeah, I might as well. I guess I am. I'm white, but I asked all my brothers and my sisters of all races and religions and everything to join me in anti-bigotry of Christianity and be proud of our nation. So the way that people don't use real logic and grounding and everything is my truth, my definition is 100%.
Yeah, people do have this thing that's the people are kind of dogmatic and they kind of live in they have to be right about everything. Um, hmm.
You see how
What I
I
want to
expand that? Yeah.
Well, I guess, and we'll just combine this topic right here about action splits. What I want to do now in this segment, what I've been waiting to do though, is to show something because I think this is I didn't want to get into a million different discussions, but a million different itty bitty
Yeah.
topics, discussion, whatever this and the other. I just want to shoot at larger themes because they represent something. This particular incident I'm going to show everybody that I definitely want to do this for video involves a situation where I was trying to do what reporters do, which is run video at a liquor cannabis board meeting. So I'm going to play about a minute and a half of this clip, and then we're going to talk about was it racist or not? Because, well, I don't want to ruin it, but let's go there for a second. Hold on. Got the share. All right, now where is that video? It's right there. Okay. And
Are
here
those
we
the
go.
Epstein files? Oh,
Well, you know that dude's still alive, right? Anyway, well, we're gonna be on a tangent real good now in a minute.
JFK Jr.
Yeah, yeah. Or Charles Kirkland. That guy. I mean, did you see that Charles Kirkland guy, like in the movie, the 1998 movie with Nick Cage, where the guy got shot in the throat? I'm like, Charles Kirkland, Charlie Kirk.
Oh
You
yeah.
just come on, guys. They're playing us. They're playing us.
Especially with 30-06. Come on now.
That bit too, and also the shot that happened on the same day. It was September 10th. You can't. That's not all right. We're back to our topic. Let's just dial it on back. Okay, so I'm gonna play this.
We're gonna have to do some more.
About a minute and a half long. Here we go.
Did you share the audio, Chris?
Okay. Did you not hear there's no audio?
No, when you go to your share screen, also share the.
Minute. I'm sorry. Yeah, there was none in the beginning, so hold on. There, audio. Let's do. I don't know why that's doing that.
No, just click the share screen and make sure you click enable audio, and that'll solve it.
I thought I did. Audio should be working. Let's try it one more
I
time.
think it's just very muffled, not very much talking at the beginning.
Okay. Well, there wasn't. Let's see if you can hear it now. Did you hear that?
No. Could you do it again?
Hold on. Yeah. No, I've never had this problem before. Usually with audio. Let's try. Audio. Select speaker. Onyx. Still nothing?
I heard a sound, but I couldn't make it any sense of it.
We were definitely talking.
Now I'm putting
Yeah,
myself
you
on
got to
mute.
stop sharing and then go to share screen and then enable audio.
Okay, hang on. Okay. Share screen. And audio's top left, right there. William, can you see that where my cursor is?
No, I'm talking about when you click on share my screen,
Yeah.
there it should also say share audio.
Okay, hang on. There's a share. Yeah, I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna take my output. I'm gonna take this back to the speaker. I'm gonna take it off of that. Go to MacBook Air speakers. Now, if I go share now. Oh, so I saw it. I just saw it. I just saw it. Okay, I got you right now. I see it right now. I'm sorry. Okay.
I do want to remind you that this is being recorded.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna clip that. What?
All right, now here we go. I never noticed that before. Okay, there we are. Okay, now we'll go back to the speaker, the real one, the Onyx. Okay, now we'll share. Oh, Lord. My life is controlled by passwords. Okay. If I could just get back to my screen now. There. Okay, now we're ready. So basically, you saw at the beginning, I'm just walking through. There was no talk in the very beginning. I'm just walking with my camera, okay? And then he says to me, he says, here we go.
We're not gonna, you can live stream, of course, but it's kind
Oh, could you hear that?
Not is it the gentleman in the hat?
No. There's light
It's
talking.
audio.
Let me know if you can hear it. He's going to start talking to me in a minute. And he says, could you sit down? He says, you're causing a disturbance.
of disruptive to have you walking around, so if you could just take it.
I wasn't aware that we started the meeting.
Yeah. Well,
Right, I mean, we started the meeting?
we haven't technically started.
Okay then.
Okay.
So, all right, don't get off me, man. All right, thank you. I was just gonna ask directly with Kayla if I could get that CV now, because I've been waiting for it about 4 or 5 times.
This is disruptive behavior, and if you don't
But
stop, I'm
how-
gonna ask you to be escorted.
How am I disrupting anything when the meeting hasn't
I've
started?
asked you to sit down.
I don't want to get hyper technical with you, but listen, I'm a lawyer. He's a lawyer. John, you're a lawyer, right? How have I interrupted a meeting that hasn't started? Don't mess with me, guys.
Okay, we are officially starting the meeting.
And I'm sitting down, am I not?
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm in my place with a bright, shiny face.
So when your time comes, we'll, let you have that floor.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
It's a constitutional right. Appreciate it. Yep.
Right, that's enough of that clip. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is have the discussion. Was that racist or not? And if so, why not?
I'll say no.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I was able to watch the video and you didn't just stop before. At first, it definitely looks like it's racist. But I'd say no after you've actually mentioned those guys by name and actually called them out. Like, you're a lawyer too, like call them out on their check. Because what they're doing is they're trying to wrangle in somebody that they know that does do a little antagonist stuff. And they're probably too entrenched into fundamentals of like procedures and whatever. But I would, if they did not see that part, that interaction, I would have said it's racist.
Okay, well, hold on a minute. I'm saying it's a mixed motive. And the one motive is that they don't like anybody who's exposing their bullshit. Okay? That's true. So, however, the bullshit that's being exposed is mostly about racism and the impact of race because we're always there talking about the social equity program, which is not
Something saying, I'm sorry, Chris, something saying that my session expired or whatever. And I got, please sign in. I'm gonna hit okay, but I don't know if it's gonna take me out or not. Okay. All right,
should be-
then, I guess.
because I'm the master of the session. I have unlimited. So so we got the first part, which is they don't want anybody causing a stir, period. All right. But you got this black person causing a stir, talking about black issues. You know, again, social equity is not entirely black, but it was, constructed to address the people hardest hit by the war on drugs and things of that nature. You know, and hardest sentences, all that stuff, which is blacks. So that's the problem that we're addressing. Meanwhile, they've restricted the amount of time we could talk from 4 minutes to 3 minutes, which they didn't do when GLBTQ had their issues, which are predominantly white at the meetings. So they restricted it several months before, and then they canceled the whole public comment session. So for 10 years, people who were white, who were the only people who got through the 502 lottery, they were able to come in and address the board and have that valuable vehicle that people could watch the program and interact, and they can be held accountable by thousands of people across the state in one fell swoop. Now they just cut our throats out. They cut our tongues out in that sense. And then I had another picture I was going to show you at the State House when we were covering a bill. And wouldn't you know, at the State House, they called the cops on us. And this was a bill that was relating to, like, they were basically trying to shelve social equity with language that was kind of talismanic. It appeared like they were doing something good, but they weren't, and we caught them. So we're sitting in the hallway, and they called the cops on us. It was one of the state reps. I forget her name offhand. I wish I could remember it. But I wrote her, and she admitted it to somebody else, but she would never write me back when I wrote her to ask her, "Did you do that?" And so these are the kind of pressures that we have to deal with. And so I do think it was racial in part, but for me to say that, because I'll take the MAGA viewpoint. Oh, King, it's the white man's fault, because these people are so illiterate online. It's hardly worth talking about, except that they're walking among us. So, they're gonna say you're just being race again. And I'm like, no, it's nuanced, and I'm coming with integrity to try to say, no, it's not strictly race, but race was a substantial motivating factor in it because of the subject matter and because of the color of my skin. And I don't think anybody could deny that with a straight face. And at that point, by the time he's already ordered me and threatened me, I don't know if you heard this. He said, "I'm going to have you escorted out of the building." I'm like, well, for what? For reporting while black, or how does that work, man?
Yeah.
So, at first when he said escort, I'm like, what? Is she cute? You can give me an escort, she better be banging. I don't know what to say, but yeah. So I find it was a mixed motive, and we won't go into the analysis of what's required under a mixed motive test now to win a racial claim. I guess we could be here for 3 days, but I do think the race was a substantial motivating factor in the way that they treated me on that. Yeah, and the other stuff I think we can get to kind of in the closeout section. Yeah. Okay, in the closeout section, when you answer your question that is going to be posed to you by William in a minute, then there's another example this kind of ties into this. But yeah, that's how I just want to share that example and just say that people who are saying that I'm racist, it's no, things are nuanced, but race is a part of it, and that's my ultimate chat on that piece. Anything else
So
on that
are you
one?
ready for the unknown
No, I
questions?
agree with you.
Yeah, well, Susie
I-
finishes. No, yeah.
I agree with you, actually. You because it is part of the considerations, and to be a civil person is to actually think beyond instinct. And so, if you're looking at an other, whatever that other may be, sometimes it's an instinctual thing, right? But you got to be civil, and you got to have a civilized mind to understand that that's not a real consideration and discount it. But you're right. When people put in that consideration, that's a part of racism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go to the unknown question, and then we'll wind that down, and then we'll go into the chat session where the moderators get to hop in and offer their viewpoints, and that's going to be the fun part. So, William, I think you're going to read the unknown question to Chris, and then after that, then Jared's going to read the unknown question to me.
All right, Chris. What would the state of white America resemble today had the tables been empirically turned in this country for the past 400 years?
Oh, well, like I guess when you say turned, I guess it could have turned in a lot of different directions. But or you mean like the Native Americans rising up and kicking out the colonialists?
No, more I kind of, for the sake of this conversation, I left the natives out because it's a simplistic analysis and a debate. But in other words, if blacks had held whites in slavery and practiced active discrimination in voting and employment and all those things for all that time, what would the state and law enforcement, all those things, what would the state of white America be today?
Oh, like if race was inversed
Yes,
but the same kind of actions basically or same histories, right?
correct.
I would say that it's hard to say. Like I think that, to be honest, if that mindset was the same, like how they say people of their time, if you will, and then from that point that'd be like at the beginning, and then for that growth pattern to like say 400 years, and then how the complexion of that would be today, I would say that it'd be near the same, but inversed.
Hmm. I'm going to agree with you, and that's the thing, and how it pans out. Um, I have one example as we're going into this discussion. I have one example I want to share with you about how it manifests and how it continues on. But this was it here? I'm gonna find this guy. Okay, there's a guy that I'm going to pull up in my page from a few days ago, and his name is Brandon Allison. Okay, and I had a chat with Brandon Allison's employer today. And why is that relevant to this discussion? Why would I do that? I'm coming to his post in just a second here because people were talking about Disney at the time, and he popped up. It's coming up just a second. Here we go. All right, I'm going to do a share real quick. Share sound. Okay, we're there. All right, here's Brandon Allison. And this man, electrical engineering, he works in Dallas, actually, where I used to work for a wireless company. He's in the same kind of thing, but he's making fun of the whole situation by making fun of Chadwick Boseman.
Uh,
You know, some
yeah.
person having a superhero, unfortunately, walk in at EBT, and obviously implying that blacks are all on EBT and this and that and the other. And so, I just says, wow. So glorify and celebrate the history of racism that is Hollywood, And I said, eat a bag of rancid Dick's burgers. You sucking mouth breather, blah blah blah. Okay, I'm not gonna cuss on this forum so much, but that situation there, that patent disrespect for one of the best actors, the best young actors that the world has ever seen. Chadwick Boseman is amazing, and so for him to do that, I find that to be racist. But so, what's the point? Like, how does that tie in, though? I think I can stop the share now. Uh, how does that tie in to the situation of 400 years? Well, it ties in like this. Okay, both of my sisters work in like HR type things, and so they always have data and stats on various things. But looking at, I asked them to pull up some information on the tech field by race and ethnicity. It's 63% white, but black and African American is 7%, and that's at a minimal. Like we're not in the upper echelons in telecom. I can guarantee you that only a couple of people are, and I've been in telecom off and on for like 20 some years. You know, when I go out, I don't see me when I go out in telecom. If I see me, they're usually on the construction side. And it's not that, I mean, of course, I don't know, Mago would say, well, you can't get there yourself. You need DEI to put people there. It's like, no. We've kind of been put out of the tech sector because the tech sector, they kind of stick together this way. And you know, I've seen it. My nephew is in the tech sector and he works for a certain company here in Washington. But we've been kept out of these areas. And so the problem is with this guy making those kind of statements. But HR was not happy about it, by the way. They're like he's gonna get some serious repercussions on his end because of that type of racism that he just displayed. But the issue is that this man, this mediocre white man, exists everywhere, and eventually he's gonna fuck around and get a promotion, and then he's gonna be in middle level management. He's gonna have hiring authority. And what's he gonna do? You think that guy's gonna hire a black guy? Not if he can possibly avoid it. And so this is how it trips over itself. And so yeah, I agree. It would be reversed because if blacks had that kind of mindset and continue to lock whites out and just disrespect whites like that, like if blacks are making fun of Robert Redford or something. I mean, it's like I'm not putting Chadwick Boseman with Robert Redford, but he had the potential to be there over time. He certainly did, and it's that type of thing. I said I do. I brought that example up just to show you how the system sustains itself. Same with the housing issue where we had to sue to get, we were racial testers and had to sue to get to live where we wanted to live. And so many blacks, like how it trips over itself, and we have tripped over the same way for whites, is that we don't get the house we want. We get a lesser house in a lesser desired community because we were redlined to go into the city. All right. And we're in the city, guess what happens? Your crime is more visible there. Believe me, I know plenty about drugs, okay? And where the best drugs come from? My rich white friends in suburbia where I lived. But you're not as conspicuous to the cops because you're driving to somebody's house. You're in their house, man. You're not gonna get popped at somebody's house out there, and the father knows the mayor and all this stuff. It's not gonna happen. But when you're in the inner cities where blacks have been forced to live, your crime is visible, and they're there to get you. So that's like an example of how it would be different if it had gone through all those years, because it's still being manifest today, and that's the problem I have with MAGA. It's I've never met one who admitted there was racism. And if they did, it's like, oh well, it's because the Dems are racist, or you're being anti. It just makes my head bleed. And so that's what I thought you were coming from when you were saying that you're racist. I'm like, oh my God, he's one of those. I can't win for losing. And so that's where we got off on that foot.
But you knew we got along. You knew that we would, because we jaw jack.
Yeah. But I think also the bigger issue, Chris, is that the climate out there is so harsh, and so many people who said something like you said, I mean, actually really mean it, like in the worst way possible. And that's what
I do understand.
Yeah.
Like if you can't tell, I have a little bit of an accent still. I grew up in Louisiana, and man, talk about it's just really mostly just black and white people, And anyway, when I left when I was 18, I went into the army. The army, the green machine, I'd be called racist sometimes, but the people, I mean, literally the ones that get down with quicker because you form cliques fast in groups like that, right? Would be black people, because the black culture and the Southern culture so much overlap, and so it really would just form away from that face that veneer sometimes, because they see like this white dude with a country accent, they might think I'm racist, right? Other times I actually use it. Like I was with these Jamaican guys that were out in Lakewood, were moving some weight, if you will. This is back in some 80 days, right? And their dad, Alfred, was our trimmer. I ain't seen nobody trim faster than Alfred, man, that dude. And his 50th birthday, we out there, got some jerks, some chicken, we talking, yap, And I told him about my time in Jamaica. And I said, yeah, man, it's like, whatever the other is, right? I was like, man, when I was in Jamaica and I felt a little bit of fear, I throw out my chest and talk all like this, and then they like, whoa, crazy white guy, and they watch out. Man, we all bust up laughing. And there's a little bit of truth in it. Now, I was at Zips over there at Pack Ave, over in Parkland, and Zips had a little spiff for their bud tenders. Hey, go over to our little head shop, Rips, and they're doing 20% off, and bring the receipt. We have a little lottery. I'm not sure. I'll go over there. So I'll go over there, and sure enough, they got the gravity bong, that big one, the Stutzgen, whatever, $600 usually. They have it for $400. I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy it. So I buy it. This guy is helping me. I got a bunch of weed with me, like a couple ounces of medical, right? And I got this big $400 bong. He's like, hey, you want some help out to your car, man? I'm like, nah, man. I just throw on my country accent and walk out of my car like this. Everybody afraid of white people around here in Parkland. And we both fucking laughed, because that connotation, what you're saying is like, it's there. And these bad people, they get into like any snake. They're going to leech into wherever they find power, into a church, into the army, into politics, into, lawfare, whatever it may be. And so snakes are snakes sometimes. And then there's good people in those power groups that get a bad name. And if you get what I'm saying. And what I do not deny that structural racism does exist. I think that the DII got a bad rep because one, you got racists with their rhetoric. Two, you have Harvard actually showing like empirical data of like some getting in over others from the qualification standpoint. And that feeds into that other racist rhetoric. And so whenever they should really basically they should never got rid of affirmative action because affirmative action is DEI.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it should just
yeah.
kept that.
You're not. Yeah, well, I'll say what I was gonna say for the final round because I was gonna bring up the airline pilots in a minute, but
Well,
I
you
guess
know,
I think it's
you're
time.
beyond time, Chris. So
I'm,
we got to have
yeah.
Jared reading Chris's question to you.
Yep.
Okay, well, there's so many interesting rabbit trails we can go down. What are the differences and similarities between the terms public relations, propaganda, and promotion?
Oh boy. Oh god, you hit me with that one, huh? So let me get them down. Public relations. Uh-huh. Propaganda.
Propaganda and promotion.
Wow. Holy cow. Holy cow. Okay, I guess I'll start with I'll take them in seriatim. Public relations is going to be, and I'll take it from the view of, say, a corporation. Public relations is going to be that which that company does in order to engender some type of empathy or support or identification with the community. I think public relations is the vessel. That's the vessel. And then the vessel is going to use propaganda and different rhetoric to promote this image. So I think with the propaganda comes in, and you could apply to a company or with say, I'll just apply to the GOP right now, or or a political party, Um, the propaganda they're going to use to promote their agenda, I think, sadly, is going to be increasingly derisive, and it's not the rhetoric of inclusion. And I see this going now. Maybe corporations are trying to include, but even now they cannot uh, because DEI. They're gonna get punished. They're gonna get strokes. They're gonna lose money, and they're gonna have a hard time. Uh, Boy, my head is spinning on this one because I could think about like Al Sharpton right now. Like,
Yeah.
what is his deal? Because I'm not a huge fan, honestly. I mean, he had some merit, but I know people who've worked with him personally, and he's a bit of a weenie. But but of course, to MAGA, of course, I love Al Sharpton. I mean, automatically because I'm black. You know, But I've known people who've worked with him, and so that doesn't negate the he's done. It's just, yeah, I won't get into all that right now. But yeah, propaganda. I mean, I read a book by I think Eric Hofer called "Rhetoric and Social Movements," and
Yeah.
and you get into all these different terms, and then you've got Bacon, the four ideals, the idols of the marketplace, the tribe, the cave, and I forget the other one. And how we all relate to each other and what's the language that we use. I mean, I guess the takeaway from this is I can't really that's a tough one to answer, but I think the most
Let me know
important
when I can interject, and I'll go ahead.
no, I'm gassed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. It's a good question. It's a good kind of a trick question too. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I have a marketing background, so something I know you don't know, but Edward
Right.
Bernays. I don't know if you're familiar with the name Edward Bernays.
I am.
So Edward Bernays created the term public relations
Mm-hmm.
because it's a softer term than propaganda.
Yeah.
And in the 4 P's of marketing, it wasn't promotion, it used to be propaganda. And then now they changed it to promotion, which includes like advertising and corporate public relations, which is like the rabbit trail you went down. But what it is a softening of language to try to appease a sensibility of a society or to move a society. So, for example, the War Department became Department of Defense. Now it's back to the War Department, right? And this propaganda like this, like another one is political correctness. What the heck is that? What about just being polite and being accurate? That like Oriental means East, so you have Oriental goods, but you have Asian people. Like that's just being accurate, right?
Yeah, right.
So like that's so political correctness in itself is also one of those changing of terms for the promoting of a softening easement for dialectical reasons. But it is propaganda in and of itself, because propaganda inherently does not mean lie. It includes that. It includes to promote a directive or a rhetoric, if you will, to a notion like, hey, everybody's pregnant should take 5 Tylenol a day. But but that's why I put it out there, because even within public relations, there's the 4 Ps, but you really can boil them down to it's same. It's just propaganda truncated down, because propaganda was the word. Promotion before that was, hey, you got promoted from specialist to sergeant. You got promoted from secretary to executive VP, whatever. So like now we have this mincing of words, and we lose sense of true meaning, like the knowing of like the essence of what a word or a label or a term that we constructed to say, hey, that is a tree. Okay, now what kind of tree is it? So like we gotta wait. This is where like the society, like with arguing and debate, it's good to have this kind of debate where we can actually get ideas more across and have that fission in conversation. But people, when they use propaganda tactics and don't even know they're using propaganda tactics, they got to go look in the mirror and like open up a book.
Well, how would you apply those three to liquor cannabis board and what they do and how they interact with the public?
Oh, well, it's total propaganda through a PR lens, and it's like zero promotion. So they really water down a lot of the advertisements, right? Like how a purveyor could advertise their business is like, you can do this, you can't do that, right? And before it was even more restrictive, like in 2014, 2016,
Yeah,
right? Now it's a
yeah.
little bit more loose. And they also like the propaganda within the public relations with diversion. Oh, we can only have our buddies have these licenses because Tom, Dick, and Harry over there, they're gonna go sell in Idaho, and we can't have them a license. I'm like, wait a minute. Why can't they compete in the free marketplace, get to the starting line, and fail like 9 out of 10 restaurants? Come on.
Yeah, we're gonna in the wrap up in a minute. We're gonna go there about them. Yeah, absolutely. But I think we may be about to walk into the wrap up now, and we'll talk a little bit about LCB and because that's where we met. That's the nexus of thing, and that's what's really important for me is LCB stuff, because this is the new frontier. When we had an opportunity to be equal to blacks, to be equal, and look what they did with it. And so we can only study. We can't fix what happened years ago, but we could have fixed this one. But look what happened. And yeah, so I think we're ready to slide on into this free for all session now, where the moderators come in and provide their observations and stuff. I think I'm about ready for that. You guys ready?
I am.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry if it's getting a little dark. I'm trying to.
Hey, yeah, I don't need the racial slur. Because you're talking to two black guys in here. Yeah.
That was a good time.
Anyway, so yeah, all right. I'm gonna Jared, you call heads or tails.
Heads.
All right, heads it is. You get to determine who starts first between you and William.
Let William go first.
Okay. All right, Counselor, you have the floor.
Well, as it relates to the LCB, I'm curious into your thoughts on sort of framing the question this way, right? So originally, everybody who comes before the Liquor Cannabis Board is equal, but yet we know that the outcomes are unequal, right? So what do we think are the causes of that, and are any of them race-based discrimination?
I think it's kind of it's a side effect of, larger systems. And it's, you know, it might be an intentional side effect, but part of how you start a cannabis business is you have to have a ton of money. You're not allowed to operate your business unless you have a certain kind of camera system that's like constantly, something that the inspectors can come in and grab a bunch of video off of your recording at any point. There's all sorts of security measures. You have to have a certain kind of safe. You have to, and in order to do that, you have to have a ton of money. And, throughout American history, Black people have had a hard time, climbing up after slavery, after Jim Crow, after, the Nicaragua and Iran Contra, the crack epidemic in California, all of that.
Also,
Yeah, there's so many things that make it hard to climb up after slavery. And so how are you going to get all that money to start that business?
this is good. I'm going to pop it now. Here's the thing. And they knew, see, the blacks who had been in business during the pre-502 days, they had come from grassroots and they had their stores, which they were, dispensaries. They had managed to amass, enough wealth that they were operational and they're doing okay. Had 502 been a fair lottery, what would have happened would be they would have had access to if they needed to get loans or some type of capital investment to boost out their infrastructure to get those cameras and do those things. If they had still been in a thriving business, they could have got investors to meet the burden or to get enough, backing to get a loan, to get cosigns, whatever they would need so that they could get that infrastructure and satisfy the requirements of the new era. But once they got knocked out, now your inertia, it's just like you're on a highway going up a hill and you meant to shift into second gear, but you shifted into fourth. And now you've got no momentum. You're just jacked. And that's, yeah. So I'm just dovetailing with what you were saying, Jared.
I mean, you just
Yeah.
look at the statistics. What's going on? So we're looking at 502 and how our conversation here fits into that. I mean, I think
Zero
502
black owned in King County now.
zero Black-owned businesses in King County.
For cannabis, yeah.
Oh my God!
See, nobody knows this, but it's true. And Sean
Even-
Kemp, they create these fake social movements like Sean Kemp, bless his heart. But and then there was another one in Arlington called what are they called? It was Dennis Turner up there, up in Cloud Nine. That guy, he was a black guy, but he was in there from the beginning with 502. He partnered up with a couple of white guys. Then he was involved in bad litigation with Griner. Leslie Griner was her name, I think, where they ran her over. She was the partner that found the facility, knew how to grow the bud, and then gave them a $150,000 loan to help out. Then they ran her over, and so she basically she owns the business now. They still own the license, but she owns the business because she schooled them in court. And these are the kind of people that the LCB keeps empowering them, and that's where that thing crosses over because it's not just race. Dennis Turner's black guy, but he's a Sambo, and so that's the thing. My head's gonna blow up, Chris.
So, like, I totally agree that there's structural racism because of the other structural racism that already existed in the 502. But what happened with 502 is that not only is it the structural racism present with like how you said, how they picked and selected certain people, right? Like one of the principal people of a very particular popular retail establishment that I mentioned earlier, his last name is Houston, and he comes from, well, a lot of real estate and stripper money because he owns some strip clubs.
Oh yeah,
And so like these people who have solvency, which tend to be like of a classism, they wind up getting selected more than anyone else. Plus all the structural barriers that like Jared was talking about, like you got equipment to buy, you got this to buy, it's really useless. And on top of that, you can't have a shotgun. Come on, man. And then on top of that, you gotta have like 1,000 foot away. Like I don't know if you remember the lease wars. We had people like I don't know. Maybe they should like do something like apply antitrust laws sometimes because
Yes.
the lease wars in 2014 was crazy all the way through like 2016, and we talk about like how housing was affected. You can that trickle down, if you will, of effects because it affects other things too. Like look at commercial real estate now; they hurting, but it wouldn't be hurting as much if we had a free enterprise market within 502 with actual lesser barriers for small cap entrepreneurs to enter the market.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's a Sherman Act violation. There's no question. When
But
you
what about wealthy blacks who were able to meet some of these requirements? They too were pushed out, were they not?
I was going to,
I do not know, but I would not deny it. I think that there is some of that too, especially in these pockets of power. Because I was in the military, which is very good melting pot in a way, but even within factions of the military, it gets a little racial. And so like police forcing or like LCB or authoritarianism, they are enticing to those who are like the closeted racists. And so I would not doubt that some of that was going on, even though we don't have data like presented.
Ian
Yeah,
Eisenberg
so,
setting up
I
the
mean, I
business
think we
with
do
kids.
have the data.
we do.
Zero
Yeah.
black-owned dispensaries in King County.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, what
that's
I'm saying is
that's like
like
building
direct,
a
you know what I mean?
basketball
Yeah, yeah.
team without any African American players. You have to deliberately make that decision, right?
I would say so, unless you're like in rural, like Iowa or something, where there's no black student body, like on a student body thing. But definitely a professional team, it make no damn sense because you want the most talented people on the floor to win. And right now, statistically, black people are better if we're going to look at race dynamics by statistics. But that's something that actually did occur and it had to be overcome in America. And I'm proud that people before me saw that and we turned it.
Well, by the way, as a side note, did you notice how many black quarterbacks? I'm old enough to remember when Doug Williams won the Super Bowl and they had the Wheaties box all ready for John Elway.
Louisiana boy, I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then he got smashed, and Doug Williams was like, there were no black quarterbacks. Now, like I think there's 16 black starting quarterbacks in the NFL, which is interesting.
I was living as a kid like in Southwest Louisiana when Doug Williams won with the Washington Redskins. Everybody was like, "Yeah, that's our guy," because it's the affinity. He's a Louisiana boy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think you would find it interesting. I almost moved to Louisiana.
Sorry,
and
man.
to Orleans, and I've been out, and I just thought, it really would have been interesting because the way down there. I say I think most people are cool down there. I have an aunt down there, and I think either you really are completely racist over here, but most people down there, there's so much melding going on in Louisiana, you
Yeah.
know, that I think most people are pretty laid back down there, and the food is good.
I would say you got good analysis there. There are definitely when someone's racist and you really know it, and the rest are kind of like it's a melting pot. If anything, they're probably making a joke because everybody be joking around.
Yeah,
But
that's
like
what they do. Yeah, right.
and that
Exactly.
Kana said, so a lot of people don't even understand a lot of the difference between Cajun and Creole either. Like it's more of a distinction of rural and urban than it is race, even though it has this racial connotation. But as far as the actual distinction, it's more like urban was more Creole and rural was more Cajun.
So give it to me again.
Like there's a distinction like Creole, Cajun Creole, right? But
Yeah, which one was
some
urban, which one was?
yeah, Creole is a little bit more urban, like so, like in
Uh-huh.
like Lafayette and in Baton Rouge, in New Orleans, right? And Cajun was more rural, like in Opelousas and Gaydon and Lake
Yeah,
Charles or Calcasieu Parish, and that's
gotcha,
the real
gotcha. Yeah,
distinction. but there is this
agree.
racial connotation because, like, in denser populated areas, you have more um, colorful people, right, as
Mhm.
of different races, and so
Mhm.
and mixtures really. Because I mean, you find me a Cajun that's a pure blood of anything, I'll give you $1.
That's for sure. No doubt, no doubt. Oh, real quick, I want to touch on something before we sign off, and do parting comments. Uh, back to the counselor's point about the data. There's that lawsuit that's going on right now, and it's the guys from it's Mike Asai from the Emerald Group, and they know. Oh, I know what's going into. Yeah, one of the things that else Liquor Cannabis Board did. Oh God, oh my God, they hired what's her face? What's the name of Kim Potter? They hired Kim Potter to do training for police, like for use of force, right? Now, how tone deaf, if that's not racist, how tone deaf is it that you hire this white woman who just did a piece of time for, you know, negligent homicide and killing a black man eating ice cream in his own apartment, and you're gonna hire him to come be your ambassador to the community for use of force. I mean, it was an insult to not just, it should be an insult to everybody, not just to black people, that they would hire Kim Potter to teach anybody anything, especially that fresh after her jail time. She had just got done in prison. It was
Yep,
unbelievable.
yep.
Unbelievable.
It's like there's a good old boys club sometime, even with gals. So like, hey, I'll pick on two political people. One's called Denny Heck. The other one's Pam Roach. So both of them had their political careers, but both of them got like automatically carried and partied and everything so that they can win another election for their state retirement. That's not service to the people, yo. You know, that's some good old boy stuff of like trying to keep like this establishment or established Republican in a place just so that they can secure more incrementalism so that the populace don't ever have like issues solved, but hey, they got their retirement secured. Yeah, I know it's a different story than what yours is, but what it is like this cronyism that happens with these different power groups, and it's ridiculous. And police and LCB people are just they're not any less guilty than political parties or and vice versa. And that's why I brought that up as a comparable.
Sure, sure, sure. So the one more thing I was going to mention is in this lawsuit. What was this before I went off on the tangent about Kim Potter, which is not really a tangent; it's part of the whole envelope. But this they have facts that one of the prerequisites for getting your recreational license at 502 was that you had to have cannabis on your LLC in your business plan. Either marijuana or cannabis had to be in your business plan. Okay.
Yeah.
The blacks had that and they were qualified otherwise. It's like, they had some money too. They were ready to go, but they never got past the first gate of the so-called lottery. And then, but meanwhile, whites who didn't have it got licenses. And that's in that video that's up right now on the lead video on my YouTube channel. Peter Manning is discussing that. And he's like, hey, look, you can revoke those licenses because they were procured by fraud, and it's just, but they won't. And they'll sit there in the same system where they have a cap on licenses, and you have your antitrust and your cronyism and all of it, right there in full force. And that's kind of the state of things at the Liquor Cannabis Board. I mean, in some, I'm going to do my parting shot now that you guys wind out too. In the end, I would say, Chris, you and I agree that the Liquor Cannabis Board is anathema to a free society. It's anathema to anything that is good. It ruins the spirit of the plant. And I think the only difference is you would say that the LCB is a complete dumpster fire, and I'm going to say it's a complete dumpster fire that is inherently racist.
Yeah, I say it's inherently fascist, and there's pockets of racism in it for sure. But I can explain what I mean by that fascism too. It's like fascism requires that corporatism so that there's like a economic powerhouse that's married with government officials, right? And then they allow like small cap to happen, but they'll have but with a new market like cannabis is still what it's 12 years old, no, 15 years old, and it's no, it's not even. It's like what 10 years old. So
Or
like
12.
it's still new, and so they're still building their titans of industry before they give us the little peanuts to the little people, and it's with control this corporatism control that it's not good. And you know, in I can only sell fascism in during war because you need your trade secrets and you maybe need some private enterprise to be incorporated into it. But outside of actual war, you don't need that stuff. We got DARPA, which is a government entity, so you just keep it that way. But but like fascism in in a mixed economy takes away the mixed economy, it all becomes fascistic because it is it's just another ism to be ployed and used by plutocracy because plutocrats can use any kind of ism on us.
Well, we're in extra time now, folks.
But I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we had a good little chat, and I don't know if there's more that I've said what I need to say, and so I think Chris has, and so that means Jared and William, if you had a little bit more to add, go right ahead, and I think we'll call it an evening.
I
A good time.
gotta say, I really appreciate you guys spending time with us. I'm sure there's a lot of good things you guys could be spending time on, and you spent some with us, and I really appreciate it.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And you guys, I'm gonna cut some of this up and everything, and cut some of the stuff up. Mostly, I'll probably post the last discussion first, just kind of to bring people in on that. But I'll be posting little snippets of this over the next couple of weeks. And I thank you for your time. And Counselor, stay on. We got a couple of things to talk about. I'll let you get back to your family.
All right. Well, hey, send me the video, Chris.
Of course. We gotta do a group shot. Hold on a second. All right, and there we are. Everybody look good. Everybody's looking pretty right now. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, see you guys.
I go leave. There it is.
All right.